Hey everybody, welcome to Creative Conversations with David and Donna. I'm David.
And I'm Donna.
It just took me like 10 seconds to press play or
He was
press
waiting
record.
for me to laugh. He wanted to start with a laugh, so I had to just find the cues. As soon as I started laughing, he pressed. I'm like, okay, that's what it is.
And
It's
also,
unspoken.
I was like, am I going to cough? Let's wait and see.
Right, so we were both almost doing that, I think.
Yeah, I was about to cough, and I was like, and it's probably going to happen throughout the show, as you just said. We're sick. It's winter.
I'm not too sick. My family's been hacking
sick.
up lungs, but I'm pretty good.
Hacking, what a fun word. Hacking.
Yeah.
Just like in that video I just sort of made you watch,
Right.
where we watched The Witcher hack people's heads off, and you were like, "Oh my gosh!"
I was.
And I'm just like, "Yeah, I mean
That's what he does.
that's what he do. That's what Geralt of Rivia do. Is he just starts hacking and slashing. I mean, I'm used to it, not just because I saw the show, but I've been playing the video games for a long time.
Yeah.
So I have been the one in control of said hacking.
I see.
It's a lot of fun.
What is your favorite type of hack? I'm sorry I cut you off.
No, please.
What is your favorite type of hack? Do you like to cut people's heads off? Do you like to slash them through the chest, cut their arms off?
Well, it's always a classic when you do one clean swipe and chop their head off. Whenever I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons and I'm controlling what I usually say, I don't like to go for a hack. I go for more of a just a straight efficient stab. That's sort of what I'm going for.
In
Is
the
like
heart?
stomach, anywhere that I know. If it's a mimic that I'm fighting and they have a big old tongue, and to slice their tongue off.
Ew.
A mimic, by the way, is a monster that can mimic the look of any object.
So how do you know it's a mimic then?
You don't until you touch it. So let's say this table that is right in front of us was a mimic. We wouldn't know until we lean on it, hey, and then it just bites us, and then and then it gets us, and then we die. Usually they prefer chest. Because then a lot of times it's let's go open up this chest full of loot, and we die.
So the opening the chest is symbolic of the mouth-ish.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And then the chest has big teeth, and it has a big tongue that comes out,
and pulls you in.
Yes, it pulls you in and wants to eat you.
So if you are able to get the good hack to cut the tongue off, then this does not occur?
It still can, I guess, but it makes it eat. Okay, there we go. For example, I was playing, and a friend of mine who's is a hoarder, we like to call her, because she just gets all the loot. I guess my DM, the Dungeon Master, was kind of sick of it, because she was like, I loot this, 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 and it's we're trying to save the world right now. Could you just calm the she's like, I loot this, and it's please shut up. So, but she's still a good player, but it's kind of funny, and she goes I loot the chest, and the DM was like, okay, you opened it, and it's a mimic, and it latches you with a tongue. Now, yes, it's funny, but I'm okay, I can't let her die. So my first reaction was I sliced the tongue off, and it set her free. Pretty epic moment, I must say, for Jamie Summerborn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
I'm addicted to D&D.
Okay.
My strange addiction.
So let's segue that into the D&D that you saw at WizCon, which you attended 2 days in a row. So.
Right, yeah. Wizard World Comic Con New Orleans 2020.
Ew, 2020, I'm just not used to hearing it. I mean, I've heard it. 2020. Wow.
Yeah, I never got used to hearing 2019. I still weird when I think about that happened last year. That was in 2019. What? 2019 isn't real. Oh, it's 2020 now. Oops. This is not good.
It's crazy.
It feels like I feel like I've been stuck in 2018.
Well, I mean, you graduated, and that's the year that's going to always kind of ring in your memory.
I guess you're right. Yeah. That's a good point.
So 2018 had a purpose. It had an attachment.
It is, because I sort of think of everything BG and AG, before graduation, after graduation, and I lose track of it all. When did I start playing D&D? Was it BG? Okay, no, it was AG. So that means it must have been 2019 because it was in January, and everything revolves around graduation.
Yeah, it will until other large landmarks.
Marriage, children,
definitely, absolutely. Frame of reference.
References. Winning the D&D World Championship.
Right.
That's not a thing.
Oh.
It's not, because D&D is not a competition game. It's just having fun.
I see.
Okay. Yeah. But, right, WizCon. WizCon, I go every year, ever since it's been around.
And when was that? When did it start?
maybe 5 years ago. This might be my 5th year, maybe my 6th.
So the 5th time it's come to this location. It's
Yeah.
not only 5 years old overall, or is it?
Well, that's the funny story, see. So, Wizard World was actually a magazine for a very long time. In the days before the internet, it was what ruled comic book discussion. It was Wizard Magazine. It was a monthly thing, and that's where all your news about comic books was. This is back in the 90s and such. And, they had interviews from the comic book writers and big-time people, and everything you could ever want about comic books was right there. It was a very big deal. The problem is, when it got to, 2005-ish, they, should have started a website. But they didn't.
Oh.
And they didn't get on board with everything's moving to the internet.
They didn't grow with the times.
Right.
Yes.
So I believe it was in 2011 they had closed down because they lost all the money. They tried to get it to the internet, but it was way too late, and it just didn't work out for them. It's a sad story. The people who worked at Wizard didn't know that Wizard was closed down until they showed up for work and the doors were locked.
Oh, no.
And they're like, what? And then they look online, it's Wizard World shuts down. The next day, the owner of Wizard World, founds Wizard World Entertainment.
Okay.
Which now host things like the cons. So that's when Wizard World Comic Con started. So that started about 2012 was when their first Comic Cons, and I believe it was 2014 when they first came. It was 2014. I remember because that's when that is when it was my freshman year of high school. So 2014, and this is now 2020.
So 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. It would make it your 7th.
Is this the 7th year? Holy
I'm
crap.
saying.
Maybe 2015 it started. When did I was...
Let's see, 14, 15.
No, it was the first year was 2015. It was January 2015.
Yeah,
So
because you would have been
year.
a freshman then. Right.
Right, yeah. So it was the 6th year that I've gone. So I've gone all 6 years, met some amazing people, met Stan Lee there. I feel like the cons it was getting bigger for a while, but maybe it's gotten smaller because there were people like Stan Lee, Chris Evans, Jason Momoa, huge names that were coming every year. And now, this year there really weren't any big names at all.
Aww.
Sadly enough. Yeah, Walking Dead cast was always there, but nothing really this year. And that's maybe why I was kind of I don't want to say, I'm never bored there, but this year I was kind of okay, seeing that. That's why instead of going back today, where I could be there right now, I decided to just not go back and to come record a podcast.
All right, talk about what you saw.
Right.
Okay, so let's talk about what you did see then.
What did I see this year?
Or even just talk about in general, what is there, since most people, or I know I don't know, you can tell me.
Oh, right, yeah. So it's a comic book convention. Comic Con is the big one. Actual, Comic Con trademark is the big comic book convention thing. San Diego Comic Con is the big one. That's where most news happens about. But that's sort of shifted away because now, that's where all the Marvel news would happen. But now Disney has their own con called D23, so that's where all their stuff happens there. So Comic Cons in general are kind of fading out, and the not they're still going to be here for a while, but just the significance of them in the general public, because that's where all the Marvel news used to come from. Now it comes from their own conferences, which makes sense. But Comic Con still, that's the biggest one in San Diego. That one's huge, 5 times the size, probably more of the 6 times, 20 times, I don't know the size of the Wizard World Comic Con. And Wizard World Comic Con is still pretty big. They're the second largest, and New Orleans is one of their bigger shows, actually. At least in size.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about what is there when you walk in. What do you see?
Okay, so a comic book convention, you walk in. It was at the convention center. I'm assuming that's how most go. This is the only one I've ever been to, and it's usually hosted just in a big room. You walk in, and there are just booths and booths and booths and booths of vendors who are selling comic books. They're selling prop toys of comic books. They're selling all sorts of merchandise. They're selling autographed pictures of actors. They are selling swords, lightsabers, crafts that are related to comic book things, t-shirts, art. Oh, so much art. This Artist Alley, which is just tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of art. I have a huge art collection because of it. One that I was looking at the other day, and I'm like, wow, there's actually probably a lot of money that I put into this art collection over the years. All sorts of really great stuff. You got places that sell mystery boxes full of just merchandise with all your favorite stuff. You've got lots of steampunk stuff, lots of booths full of like steampunk.
Please explain to me what steampunk is.
Oh, okay. So steampunk, it's I don't know exactly what the idea is. It's sort of like imagine a medieval kind of time, but what if they had a bunch of technology because of steam, like steam powered everything? Does that make sense? Like,
where did it originate? The reason I'm asking is because when I'm researching costumes, a lot of what I buy, especially when we did the comic book, the Pelican on stage,
right.
Like what I bought for Captain Constitution was a steampunk jacket. And just in general, a lot of just the looks I find when I'm searching costumes say steampunk, and I didn't really know what that meant.
It's hard to describe. I can see it all in my head.
But where did it come from? Who originated the idea? Is it a comic book thing?
I believe it was just this. I would assume it started like in books. The idea of like these worlds where everything is powered by steam. And it can take place in the future, present, or past. And it's just this idea that everything's powered by steam, so people dress different and do weird things.
Okay.
I would assume it started in books. I cannot tell you the story of where that all started.
That's cool.
Do you know have you ever heard of cyberpunk?
I do. I think I have heard of that, but I don't know what it is.
So cyberpunk is like steampunk, but instead of steam-powered stuff, it's all cybernetics and like futuristic technology and now controlling everything. So it's all bright colors.
The looks are kind of Victorian inspired.
Yes.
But as if they were also in a place that had all this different technology. That's the idea. That's the idea.
That's also like a good that's a good analogy for steampunk. It's like this Victorian inspired clothing, but there's everything. There's always gears and like weird goggles, like instead of glasses, they have goggles that zoom in weirdly.
That is exactly
just technology, but if it took a very different route.
Okay.
Which is interesting to me to think about.
Like alternate universe.
It's only a coincidence that glasses look like this.
Okay.
Like the glasses I'm wearing on my face right now. If I could wear glasses that are just these giant bulbs, but they could do the same thing that the glasses do, which is help me see. So lots of leather. It's always leather.
Yeah.
Which is that's why I like the steampunk, because they sell all this leather armor, and every year I'm like, I want to buy a full set of leather armor. Just wear some leather armor, but that's expensive as frick. Each little piece is probably $200, just full, because it's handmade, crafted leather armor crap. But they have booths of everything you could ever want. Lots of steampunk, lots of Dungeons and Dragons and role playing games. Everything nerdy you could ever think of. Some of my favorite booths are booths that are just full of DVDs, but it's DVDs of like stuff that you can't just get everywhere. Like most of it's probably pirated, to be honest, because it's stuff that's like the Tick animated series, and it's like you can't really get that. Like things that are very obscure. Lots of animated series from the 90s. Stuff like the Star Wars Christmas special, which you really can't get anywhere.
Oh, wow.
Things like that. Things that people somehow found and like recorded in a crappy quality and put on a disc for you to buy. The Japanese SpiderMan series. Did you know that was a thing?
I did not.
So in Japan, one of the first SpiderMan TV shows it was made in Japan. It was called SpiderMan. And it was about this it just took place in Japan, and it was Spider-Man, so it's the Spider-Man costume, but just wrong looking, like you can't quite put your finger on what's wrong, but the eyes are just kind of weird, and he has this giant gauntlets where his like webs come from, and he also has a giant mech, like a giant like robot that he can get inside and control. Like the Power Rangers and Voltron and stuff like that. That's a very Japanese thing, mech warriors. So he has that, and that's SpiderMan, and it's just Spider-Man in Japan. Yeah, they had the full series of that, and there was also what
I was gonna say. How did they get permission to do that?
They don't.
Okay.
It's probably all pirated. Because also like there's not really a place to get. It's not like there's a company now that's like the seller of this Japanese Spider-Man. It's all this like really obscure, weird stuff that nobody quite knows who has the rights to. You know what I mean? Like, because nobody cares enough to figure it out, really. And so it's like probably some company that was in the 70s that is doesn't even exist anymore. And these things, I have no idea how it happens. It must be like somebody actually saw it on TV when it was made and recorded it on a VHS and has now converted that to the computer and uploaded it on a sketchy website, and then somebody found it on that sketchy website and downloaded it onto this disc and like have put it on a Blu-ray disc for you to purchase at a Comic-Con.
Well, further back than that, how did the people in Japan get the rights to do a Spider-Man series?
Just Marvel, like, throwing it out there. Like, here you go, make some money. Because there was also a live action, and that's the thing, it's live, not animated, it's live action. It is live action, like a person doing it. There was also a live action Spider-Man series in America that was god-awful. It was like, he would shoot webs, but they would just, like, he would shoot a web at somebody, but then, like, they would just cut, and the people are just covered in rope. Like, just, like, rope. It's like, yeah. Or he, like, shoot his web up, and then it would cut, and it's just a grappling hook that he threw up there, and he's climbing up. And it was funny enough, is Stan Lee loves that show.
Oh, I love
with
it.
all of his heart. And it's hilarious.
That's
and he's like,
too funny.
He's like, yeah, no, it really follows I'm Stan Lee. It really follows the character of Spider. It's Peter Parker, you know? It's just this guy, and he's swinging around. And it's like, yeah, okay, Stan. Glad you like it. You can get that at the Comic-Con too, because where are you supposed to get that?
Yeah.
That's not on Disney Plus.
Well, it might be one day.
One day, I hope. They really should do that kind of thing where they just put Disney Plus stuff. Also, there was this, so the Fantastic Four. You're aware of the Fantastic Four, yes? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that there are movies made by them.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you haven't seen them.
Not really.
Yeah, they're awful.
Okay.
You don't have to.
Thank you.
They're these awful movies made. What most people don't know is that back in the 90s, when Fox had the rights to the Fantastic Four, there was a stipulation in their contract that they had to make a movie every 7 years or the rights would go back to Marvel.
Okay.
So it was coming up on that 7-year mark. It had been 7 years since they acquired the license, and they hadn't made anything yet. So they're like, crap. They kind of forgot about it. It's like, just chilling, like, oh, crap, we got to make a movie. And they didn't have a lot of time, so they hired this guy named Roger Corman, who is notorious for making B-level movies with no money really, really quickly. And so they hired him to do this, and he made a Fantastic Four movie in the 90s. And it is awful. It was never released in theaters. They made it, and then did nothing with it. And it's kind of a heartbreaking tale when you read about it, because all of the actors who were hired to play the Fantastic Four were not aware of this.
Oh.
They just thought, like, oh, I'm gonna be a superhero. I'm gonna be the biggest name in Hollywood. And they made the movie, and they didn't release it in theaters because they just straight up wanted to make it to say they made a movie. It's like, unapologetically, that's exactly what it is. They got Roger Corman, this director, to just make the crappiest, low quality movie for as little money as possible. So that way they could not have to waste money on this to make this Fantastic Four movie. It is hilariously bad. It is the cheesiest, like, worst looking thing I've ever seen. But funny enough, probably one of the best Fantastic Four movies I've ever gotten, because at least it's not those other ones. Mm. And you can find it on YouTube, or you can buy the Blu-ray disc version from these Comic-Cons where you can find stuff like that. That's what Comic-Cons are really good for, is for nerds who are interested in obscure stuff to go search through. That's also, like, there are so many comic book booths. Comic-Cons have become very mainstream, and they have things where you can go, if you don't even read comics, you can go and you can purchase things and find things there that you're interested in. Mm-hmm. They have panels of people that are there talking. They have something called the Creative Stage, at least at WizCon, where it's, like, this smaller stage where they have a schedule, and, like, this random creator, and you can sign up to do it. This cosplayer is going to come, and he's going to show you how he makes his costumes, and come learn from that. Stuff like that all the time. They have a whole bunch of gaming stuff there, like whole gaming sections. People who want to promote their own products that are kind of nerdy, like people who write their own books, they'll go to Comic-Cons. All you gotta do is pay for a booth. You just rent a booth, and you set up your booth, and you can do kind of whatever. There's a T-Mobile booth there, which is funny, because it's like, that's a joke that me and my girlfriend made. We took a picture in front of it. It's like, hanging at the T-Mobile booth, everyone's favorite part of WizCon. Like, that's so funny to me, because who is going to WizCon and be like, oh, T-Mobile, let's go check it out. Oh, man, I'd love to sign up for your family plan. Like, what the frick? And just weird stuff like that, but it's there.
I mean, if it's a place to get customers, I mean, it's a marketing
That's a good point. I mean, like, I saw some people at that T-Mobile booth. Lots of stuff like that. I love it. I love digging through comics and finding obscure comics. I don't usually purchase them, because comic books are actually quite expensive. That's where collectors go to find stuff that's like, I saw last year, that wasn't there this year, but I saw last year Amazing Fantasy number 15, which is the first appearance of SpiderMan. And there's something called the something. Oh, I can't think of the name now, but it's like the people who grade comic books and give it an official grading. That's what most collectors follow. So the higher the grade, the more expensive, the better quality it is. It was like a 0.5 quality. And it's on a scale of 1 to 10.
Oh, 1 to 10.
Yeah, so it was less than 1, like 0.5. It was completely tore up, almost shredded, but the cover was almost intact. And it was worth like $30,000 for a 0.5. And the only reason it's not worth millions is because it's only a 0.5. But that was there, and I went about. I just asked the guy, "Can I touch it? Can I just give it a little pat?" And he's like, "Yeah." So I just touched it a little bit. I'm like, "Huh?" Just a little shake, you know. That's where you can find stuff like that, or you can just dig through boxes and boxes and boxes of comic books. People who have been collecting comics all their lives who just have all this stuff. I was thinking about it, like I could probably do that because I have it wouldn't be nearly as much, but I could probably take my boxes and just be like, count how many comics are in there, charge $2 a comic, and be like, here you go, give me $100 for these 50 comics, and just make some quick money. But I wouldn't do that because I love my comics. But you can go dig through long boxes to find stuff. I love finding weird stuff like cause comic books that I know about. They're like, oh, that wasn't that weird thing happened. I wonder if I can find that. And then I do, and I'm like, cool, but I don't buy it because they're expensive. But
do they let you look at them? Like
yeah,
you can actually
usually unless it's like Amazing Fantasy number 15, then they won't let you touch it. They're like, no, because they have like a special case for it and everything. You can meet celebrities there at these things. Like I said, there was Stan Lee there one year. Chris Evans, the whole cast of Civil War actually. Walking Dead cast comes there a lot. Jason Momoa was there last year. Lots of cool stuff like that. No one really big there this year. And then the small town stuff, like very obscure stuff, like guys who were in one movie when they were like 15 and have just been bankrolling off of that their whole life, which is good for them, I guess, and coming there. Like this guy from Freaks and Geeks was there. Sam. No, it wasn't Sam. It was Neil. Neil from Freaks and Geeks was there.
I saw the series, but my mind does not go back.
That's okay. It's one of the geeks. Mm-hmm. He was there, and he's just like, and it's so funny because it's like people were like, honestly, because he had like a panel on the main stage and he was like, "Why are you here?" He's like, "Man, I'm just having fun. I'm a nerd too." And like sometimes people will get me to give them an autograph for $10 or whatever, you know. Comic book creators go there a lot and sell their stuff, and weren't a lot of those this year, sadly. Neil Adams is there every year, though, and I met Neil Adams, and I got an autograph from Neil Adams on a Green Arrow sketch that he did right in front of me. That was the greatest moment of my entire life. Neil Adams is a very big deal in comic books. Drew some of the most iconic covers of all time. And then Jim Steranko, who I was just telling you about, was there this year. Told some amazing stories. What a charismatic guy. So it is a haven for nerds. It's just like a place where you can just go. And just everyone cosplays, lots of cool cosplays. This year I was Daredevil, but I was the Man Without Fear Daredevil, which is the black hoodie, ropes around his hands, black mask, like just punching people, you know, no real suit.
So Daredevil is...
Yeah, you just gave me a funny face.
I did.
Daredevil's a superhero.
And from which?
Marvel.
Okay.
He's a Marvel superhero he's a blind man. But when he got blind, his senses kind of enhanced because he was blinded by chemicals. Mm-hmm. The chemicals enhanced his senses, and then he was trained by this blind kung fu master named Stick, who taught him how to be a ninja. So now he has enhanced. He's an expert fighter, and actually he sees better than everybody else now because yes, he's blind, but just like from smell and sound and everything, and he can it's almost like a radar vision. Mm-hmm. He can just sort of act normally. He's also a lawyer, which is cool. He's one of my favorite characters, Matt Murdock. He's very popular. And he wears like a red suit, like a red leather full body suit, and his name is Daredevil. But then this one comic book written by Frank Miller called The Man Without Fear, his whole life kind of falls apart because of Kingpin, and he loses his suit, and he just gets angry, and he's like, you know what? Screw it. I don't need a freaking suit. I just need a mask to cover my face. So he just put on this black mask that covered his face. Well, it covered the top half of his face, and he had a hoodie and sweatpants and gloves, and was like, "Let's go!" We started beating people up. It's freaking awesome.
All right.
So I was that.
Okay.
That was a lot of fun being that. It's one of my proudest cosplays because I think I was literally looked exactly like him because it's the easiest thing in the world to do. Yes, people would be like, Miss Furneaux was there, the theater tech teacher, part of Donna's theater program, and she was there. She's there every year. She runs a cosplay repair station. She's part of like the Louisiana cosplayers union
or whatever
something of the sort. And she always has cosplays. She has this great little stand where she like has this everything. Pins, needles, thread. Like if your cosplay falls apart, she can help you, and that happens a lot.
I bet.
People in the middle there, and it's like, oh crap, cosplay repair station. Go check it out.
So
Free.
I was gonna say, I was about to ask about money. So it's just a nice gesture. I mean, do people give tips or?
People give tips, but it's more just like for the fun of helping people with that sort of thing, because it's like a thing where they just knew that it's, and also they get to promote their stuff by doing so and get people to join. And
join what in particular? The
cosplayers union, I guess,
or whatever it is,
and help, and I guess if you join and become a more active member, you get to go to. She gets to go to cons for free, so that's the thing. Because she has that booth and she works with the cosplayer thing, she got to go for free.
Well, that's very cool.
So maybe sort of the perks is so the perk for her is I'm helping people and it's for free, but I get to go to the Comic-Con for free.
Walk around and do whatever.
Yeah, and she gets breaks. She can walk around and do whatever, and it's just a nice thing to do. The setup for people.
That is nice.
Lots of local artists and whoever, if you have a bunch of art, comic book related at least, or a talent, some people make wood carvings. They're I make wood carvings. This one guy takes actual animal skin and makes maps out of them. Maps of fantasy world, so a Middle Earth map, a map of the Witcher universe, a map of Skyrim, and he makes it out of animal skin. He's I'll go to Comic-Cons and sell that stuff. And I talked to him for a bit. He's yeah, this is this weird hobby I had where I just made fantasy maps out of animal skin. And it's started out to sell them. And I'm at Comic-Cons now selling them, just making some cash, which is cool, which is it's fun because I like finding I love Comic-Con because you can find that stuff online, but it's stuff that I never would even thought that I would buy. But now that I see it, I'm that's cool. Mm-hmm. I could totally use that in my D&D game,
Well, it has a lot to do with our business, which, stay creative. You figure out what your creative thing is, and then find a way to...
I was thinking that,
to go forward with it, to make money from creativity.
You're right. You're right. Next year, I should have thought I'm going to bring my business cards.
I was wondering if you were going to do that. I meant to mention it to you. I should have.
I didn't think about it. That would have been... I could just give it out, because they give out their business cards. I could have given them their business cards.
I'm saying.
There was this one booth of guys who they sold candles, but on the candles were on the glass thing for the candles were pictures of I've seen a lot Jesus and stuff like that, but they would Photoshop celebrities' faces on top of Jesus's face. So Keanu Reeves, and it's it's a candle with Jesus, but it's Keanu Reeves' face, and they sold air fresheners. I should have brought it to show you. I bought an air freshener that was in the shape of Jesus Christ. It's for your car, and it's Jesus Christ, but instead it's Keanu Reeves' face. What a weird thing, Yeah, and they just sell candles and air fresheners and cozies and everything like that. And then the custom ones are yeah, and if you go to our website, you can submit a picture and we can make one for you. So I could get one with your face.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be just... some of them the Mona Lisa. It's the Mona Lisa, but with your face, and they sort of match it to they sort of do Photoshop tricks where it's not just flat on there. It actually
they blend it.
They blend it, and they put it on candles, or and they give you a free box of matches. Oh, so I've a box of matches now.
No, that has their name and logo.
Yeah, it has their name and logo on it, and then some matches. Yeah, and that's just what a funny weird thing.
Yes, yes, it is, and controversial to certain people. I'm sure.
I'm very sure.
But
I was afraid to show my mother when I got home that I bought that.
Yeah.
I got this D&D stuff, this great stuff, and I got this air freshener. She thought it was funny though, so it's fine.
Okay, good.
Whew. Yeah,
certain people wouldn't.
Sorry, Grammy.
Yes, right.
I'm sorry. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Oh my goodness.
It's a joke. I don't actually believe that Keanu Reeves is God.
Jesus, right.
Is Jesus, yeah. He might be a God, but not the.
Yeah, there we go. We should just stop talking.
Anyway.
Yes.
One of my favorite things I saw was this. I love all the leatherworking stuff people do. Mm-hmm. And this booth. I spent an hour just looking at this stuff. This is where I spent most of my money. It was this booth of leather bags, pouches, journals, satchels, and everything like that. and they also sold dice. It was just it was a role player's booth, right? So I was there, and they had these dice. That's what caught my eye. So they had regular dice, but then they had like metal dice, which are common. You can get anywhere. And then they had dice that were hand carved from wood. Mm-hmm. And then they had dice that were made of like rare stones.
Oh, wow.
And the more like rare the stone, and it was like the most beautiful. It was like, holy crap, this is I just wanted all of it. I got a pair of metal dice that were like $20. The wood carver dice were like $100 a piece, because it's like for a set, not each dice, but for a set of the dice is $100, because it's like, you know, they hand carve them. The stones were like $100 also. Just incredible stuff. They had dice carved out of water buffalo bone.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's just like, what? That's freaking awesome, though. I want that. I want it. I don't know why, but I want it. They had horns, like the drink out of, like tankards that were carved out of water buffalo horns.
Yeah.
Those were like, I want to drink mead. I don't even know what mead tastes like. I've never had mead, but I want to buy that and go find some mead and do that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. There's amazing stuff. And then they had like leather satchels and journals and bags, and I bought a little leather journal to start keeping my notes in for D&D, even though I had pieces of paper, but this is special.
Does it look kind of like the leather book that we got from Fake Rate? Small leather.
Yes, it is like that, but yes, exactly. It's like a leather, but it's like handmade leather, and then the paper's kind of like more like parchment in there.
Oh, wow.
It's like the small little it's obviously like very fantasy-esque thrown together, like just this freaking amazing stuff. Like I wanted everything there. I already have a leather satchel, so I didn't need to get that. But I was like, I want another one, but I didn't. I resisted. I got some new dice, which I love dice. I bought a dice tower, which is what that is for D&D, is instead of like rolling your dice, you just drop them down this tower.
No,
and it does that, and then lands in a little pre-made spot where it doesn't go everywhere. So that's cool. It's just a fun little thing to have as your D&D group. Me and my girlfriend are going to paint that because it's just like plain wood, which is why it's cheaper than other dice towers, but that's why I got it. Mm-hmm.
How are you design it?
I don't know yet. I have no idea.
I see.
I think I'm going to like start with like maybe a darker wood color and then paint some just D&D designs on it perhaps. Mm-hmm. Perhaps the ranger symbol, because I play a ranger in D&D. Just so much cool stuff. I had a great time there being there at WizCon. If you have not gone to a con, it is 100% worth it. Whether you're a nerd, if you just enjoy cool stuff, you should go.
So how much are the tickets?
For like a 1-day ticket on Saturday, it's $50. Like 1-day ticket, $50. For a 3-day weekend, $80. And if you're gonna if you're just gonna go 2 days, go ahead and pay for the 3-day because it's cheaper than paying for like 2 separate days. You get a good deal. Even though there weren't many celebrities, there was nobody notable there this year. There was the X-Men animated series cast, and they had a panel, but it was kind of boring. So that kind of sucked. But there was nobody really notable there. It's still worth going. But on years where like really cool people are there, or maybe. Like, I don't know, people from this show called Outlander were there this year, and
I think that's the thing I had seen somebody posted on Facebook.
Right, yeah. Okay. I did not. I've never even heard of that show, but there was a huge crowd of people standing in the line to get their autographs.
Yeah,
so it's a big deal.
I've heard of it enough just from people posting on my Facebook feed. It seems like an interesting concept. Just from what I know about it, but I've never watched it.
It's fantasy.
Yeah.
That's all I know. Oh, Smallville cast was there. The Smallville cast was there, the Superman show. And that's cool to me, but I never watched Smallville, so I'm like, I'm not paying for an autograph. Autographs are like usually like $30. That's like the average range, I'd say.
No, the money goes to the person who signs the autograph, or is it through?
I would assume it's like sort of a deal where everyone gets a cut. Okay. You know, like Wizard World gets a cut, the managers get a cut, the guy gets a cut. Or maybe, or if you rented your own booth and you're independent, then any autograph you get probably goes straight to you. Like comic book artists who rent a booth, I'm sure all the autographs they could go straight to them. Like Neil Adams, because Neil Adams doesn't have a special WizCon booth, because WizCon will set it up like a special autograph area, but Neil Adams just has like his own booth over there with all of his art. So I'm assuming he rented that booth. Right. Well, actually, he rents like 5 booths. because he has so much art to put out. But he can afford to rent the 5 booth because he's one of the bigger ones there, and he gets lots of money in autographs. I think his autographs are actually $50, but that's like $50. No. His sketches are around $50, and you get the autograph for free.
So you bought something from him?
Yeah, but that was last year that I did that.
So you didn't have to pay money this year for an autograph?
I didn't get an autograph this year. Last year I bought something from him and got an autograph. This year I just like went up to him, was like, "Hi, I'm a big fan," shook his hand and walked away.
So who was the one you were talking about that told you the story?
Jim Steranko.
Okay, so you bought something from him?
Yeah, well, from him, what I did was I went to a comic book vendor. When I didn't know he was going to be there, and when I saw he was there, I'm like, I got to get that autograph. I need a comic book to sign. So I went to a comic book vendor, found the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. comic book I was telling you about, found it for like $10, because that's the one, like, I want that one to get him signed. I probably already had it, but I didn't have it with me, so I just bought another one for $10 from that vendor, then went over to Jim, paid him $20 for the autograph. But if I would have bought a sketch from his booth, the autograph would have been included. Does that make sense?
You were not interested in a sketch?
I was, but I was more like... Because Jim also wrote the comic books, so I thought it'd be cooler if I just got a comic book.
Okay, that's what you just chose, what you preferred.
Right, yeah,
gotcha.
For that particular thing. But for Neil Adams, there was like this really cool Green Arrow sketch that I wanted, so that's why I chose that one instead of a comic book.
Very cool.
I've been talking about WizCon for a long time, and we're 36 minutes in.
Yes, we are.
So, what's going on with you, Donna?
With me. So...
Anyway, WizCon, so... Kidding.
So, frame of reference for when this is finally on air. It is January 5th, so I was telling my husband today that tomorrow it will be a month until I turn 55. So I've been kind of doing some thinking about, age is irrelevant to me. I am as old as I am, and I've always told people my actual age when they ask me. But it just makes me reflect a bit about, okay, so this time of my life, I mean, I've mentioned many times, it's my 31st year as a teacher. And so I have either 3 or 4 more, depending on how things ride out. And it's kind of been a very reflective time. As a teacher, I've always had this long break at Christmas, and it's always nice to have a long break. So many people in their jobs get like a day or 2 here and there if they're lucky. So it's been a time for me to like make the big list like I do every break, and try to figure out what to do, get it done, and then look back today when I have one more day off after today before I go back to school. Like, what did I do? What did I not do? And so what I didn't do was work on my business. So I'm kind of here talking to David, that we try to kind of bring up what we're doing. The podcast is a part of our business. And we are venturing into other things. And we had all kind of series of unfortunate events this particular week trying to get together to see each other to work when I had time. Yeah. And he had time as well. We just didn't have a way to do it. But what I did instead, though, was all the other stuff on my list, which may not have gotten done if I had done the business work. So I guess what I'm trying to say there is, for people who want to expand and do something in addition to what they're already doing, you have to find a way to fit it in, to find the balance. That's the word David and I talk about a lot, is a balance. And then to forgive yourself when you don't do it. and find a way to then say, okay, I didn't do it then, so I'm going to do it now, and pick it up and go from there. So that's thoughts on my brain. So let's see, creative thoughts in my brain. What can I talk about? We could talk about Star Wars some. So I did go see the last Star Wars movie, and last night Danny and I were trying to find something to watch, and we watched Solo, because I had never seen Solo.
Oh, I love Solo.
So you want to talk about Solo a little bit?
Well, you go ahead.
Well, I mean, I'm not nearly as much of a Star Wars aficionado as you are. So, I mean, I guess I can just tell my impressions, and then you can tell me what you think. But when I first started watching it, I had to look at the actor for a while. I'm like,
to get
that's not Han Solo.
No.
Yeah, no, yeah, and I just kind of went back and forth for a little minute. I'm like, I like the actor. There's nothing wrong with the acting. Mm-hmm. I just was like, that's not Han Solo. It's hard to, It's not Han Solo. Oh, okay. Now it's Han Solo. So I literally kind of went back and forth and had those kind of moments. So I guess probably that's just because we all are so accustomed to the iconic
Harrison
who he
Ford.
is, and how he played the part. And so, as I watched the story unfold, I did enjoy the moments where they set up this is how he got the rifle, and this is how he got, the name. This is how the Millennium Falcon lost the escape pod. All those things that set up what everything was like. I always appreciate that, because somebody who really knew Star Wars took some time to write a prequel that is satisfying to the people who are watching it.
So, a lot of people hate that. Actually, I've heard. I don't. People, they show what the Kessel Run was, and it's like a lot of people hate that they showed that, because I don't even know what that is. Just imagination's better than okay, shut up. Yes, we get it. You are pretentious. I get it. Okay, but just who cares? I see their point. Okay, to be fair, I see their point of you're kind of ruining the magic, they might say, of the Kessel Run, because they're I don't want to see what that is. Just imagining it's better than actually seeing it. But why?
Well, let me ask this question then: if people are irritated at that, how would they have felt if a prequel about Han Solo mentioned nothing about what we know of him?
Right.
Right?
Well, the argument there is they just didn't want a prequel made. But why? Other than, I don't understand. Okay, just to give you some context, I'm sure you're not aware, a lot of people really hate Solo. Me and my dad really love Solo. And we truly believe that the reason people hate Solo, if you hate Solo, it is because you're just angry that Star Wars Disney isn't doing exactly what you want all the time. That's just my opinion. My opinion's right, but that's my opinion. And if you disagree, sorry. And I'm sure there are problems with Solo. If you have legitimate issues with Solo, I totally understand. It's not a perfect movie by any means, but it's fun and just relax. Yes, they showed the Kessel Run. Get over it. It's just enjoy that you're seeing it. That's how I feel. I agree with you. What you're saying about it's cool. You appreciate that somebody who knows Star Wars took the time to write this thing and make it make sense in the universe, and just have a fun that you're seeing it. Now you know it. Or if you want, you can just pretend you didn't see it and just watch the original trilogy and not know that thing. If you want, sure. I'm with you. I'm on the same page with you. I appreciate seeing these things. I appreciate him meeting Chewbacca and...
I forgot to say that. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
That relationship was great.
I enjoyed that very much.
And it makes sense why they're helping each other, and it really does. It's not forced at all. I liked Lando a lot. Mm-hmm. I think his name is Aiden Albright, played... so that's not how you pronounce it, but it's on the same... It's on this. It's on the
Solo?
That plays Han Solo. Yeah,
okay. Mm-hmm.
I agree with you that it's kind of looking at him. It's but what I found is if I just happened to be looking away, if I looked over for a second and I heard him say something, a bit Han Solo. You know what I mean?
I do.
The voice and the mannerisms and the way he said things, it fit perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
I also do appreciate though that he isn't doing an impression.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
That would have been awful.
And that's probably why it's not quite there. But if he was doing an impression, it would have just been sad. Oh, stop it. You can't. He very much did, he embraced that I'm not going to be able to just be Harrison Ford.
Yeah, and I mean, any actor had to have done that.
Right.
When they recast all of the iconic Star Trek Enterprise, I mean, you can't be the actors that played that part, but you just play the role.
You just play the role. And it worked. That's what Chris Pine did. I like Chris Pine.
I totally
Chris
agree.
Pine as Captain Kirk, because he wasn't being William Shatner. Because also... those movies were made at a very different time when the way that William Shatner acted was more it was a different time. And if you do that now, it's going to look kind of dumb. When you put it in the context of what it was, it works great. It's brilliant acting. But if Chris Pine was talking like this...
Yes, and being all dramatic.
And being all dramatic and being the epic Captain Kirk, then it would have been dumb. But he didn't do that. He didn't. He was the character. He was his own interpretation of the character, and as long as it fits, and that's what I think. Alden or Adam. That's what I think the guy who played Solo did fine. And by the end of the movie, I was in. I was invested.
Yeah, I really did enjoy it. I thought that was a good one.
And if it wasn't the Han Solo that I know yet, that's fine because there's a lot of time left before we get to that point.
Absolutely.
And I could definitely imagine him going through this experience, making him closer to being. The Han Solo we met in A New Hope.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah, and so I enjoyed it a lot. I like Solo, so I'm glad you also like Solo. Something I think was really interesting is that even though I know what happens to Han, I was still invested in the story, which is really impressive to me because it must be really difficult to like make, especially like his love interest. It must have been really difficult to make you care about her at all if you know he ends up with Princess Leia.
Mm-hmm.
But I still, by the end of the movie, I still did. And her betrayal still kind of hurt. And she was actually a really complex, interesting character. And maybe it wasn't a betrayal. Maybe it was more like...
A necessity.
A necessity. Or it is what it is. And it's really complex. And you start thinking about it. I was thinking about it for days. Like, why did she... spoilers for Solo, the movie that came out like 2 years ago. But it's like, why did she... leave Han? Well, she knew that she had to go deal with Darth Maul. If she ran away with Han, then Darth Maul was going to chase after her and probably like get Han in trouble. So maybe she was really saving Han from this life. And she told him like, there are things you don't understand since we last met. I've had to do some messed up stuff, and you're not going to like the person that I am now. Like really great character work from everybody, and Han being a little naive.
Oh yeah,
and very naive actually, not seeing that and having to learn these things. And by the end of the movie, he learns to shoot first, and he shoots Woody Harrelson's character.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to say his name. I watched it last night, and I can't.
It
starts with an S.
I don't remember.
But anyway,
I thought he was great though. A lot of people don't like the Darth Maul twist. They think it's forced.
Well, I kind of was like, what? Because I don't think. Go ahead.
Well, no, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, go ahead.
Did you know that Darth Maul Darth Maul was in Phantom Menace and he died?
Okay.
Were you aware that in the Clone Wars TV show he had come back?
No.
Okay. So that might
I was about to say, where is the tie-in? I guess we both had the same thought. We're just coming at it from a different angle. So that idea is something they have continued in another story.
Yes. So in the animated series, Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and I think also in the series Star Wars Rebels, Darth Maul has come back. Like he came back. It was shown that he wasn't dead, and he had like robot legs now because he got chopped in half, and that he was alive, and he was leading this crime syndicate that he talks of. So that all fits in really well. They had already established that, and established it in a way that fans actually really did enjoy, and fans were a fan of Darth Maul in the Clone Wars. And so him coming back, it feels less forced when you know that.
Yeah.
But even still, people who knew that were kind of like, what? What the hell? Oh.
Because there was zero reference to it before that.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of like,
except the who I serve.
Who I serve someone power. And then, I do agree, this is kind of funny that he turns on his lightsaber. And the only reason he did that is because in every Star Wars movie, there's a lightsaber. So they want to keep that tradition going, that's funny. But it was kind of like...
Who turned on the lightsaber?
Darth Maul. When he's just sitting there and he just turns it on. Which is, when you think about it, he had no reason to do that. Because no one's around him. He just kind of like, boom, just to like be intimidating to her. But he was already intimidating enough. So it's kind of like, that's kind of goofy, that he did that. But it's... Whatever. It's fun. Just have fun with it. It was just a fun little movie. I enjoyed Solo a lot. Just fun. Just fun, cool stuff, man. Just... people having a good Star Wars adventure. Just an adventure. That's what Star Wars should be. Just a fun adventure. I'm touching your chair right now with my toe. Like, see this? I'm just running around. Anyway. So I like Solo. Any more thoughts on Solo?
No. One of the things I did feel like maybe we should try to do, my head's just kind of going around the topics that we're talking about. I like when we, on this podcast, talk about creative ventures. So what are things from watching, and like how does going to WizCon, for example, help you figure out something creative you can do?
It has definitely put a lot of ideas in my head of how business works, and how you have to sort of like, okay, you have to have something that people pay for. What is that creative thing that we can do, which we are on a track of doing. Mm-hmm. Also, it's put in my head like ideas of I'm always thinking, I bought a lot of D&D stuff, so let's put in my head like how to like play the game more creatively and to incorporate that into what we're doing here. Maybe talk more about it. Gives me ideas like videos to make and fun things to talk about. It also inspires me to just come home and like when I got home last night, like I didn't want the adventure to stop, so it's kind of like, I was feeling really sick actually, but after I felt better, I was like, I don't want to like stop playing, like I want to like keep doing things, so what can I do? So I went and like started writing a new D&D campaign, I started thinking about. I started writing. I worked on a video that I want to on a blog that I want to write.
About what?
About video games that I want to talk more about. I want to talk about this game called Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, which is an RPG game because I'm all about RPGs, and so I started writing a lot about that. I have some work done on that. It does inspire me to it inspires me to stay creative because I don't want the adventure to stop.
So what about Summerborn? Did you get kind of any ideas?
That's a good point. I didn't necessarily get ideas for the book, like the story, but it did inspire me to keep writing more, and it did make me think about it did get me think what are paths they could go down, because being around all this creativity, which we do talk about in the new video that will be up by the time this video is up, which is Tips to Stay Creative. That is a new little series that we took some footage that we cut it up, and we want to give you some tips to staying creative. That will also lead into what we want to do, a course we want to offer for you guys later. But being around all that creativity, it did inspire me to think about stories that I want my characters to go through, and talking to a lot of people about all the things they've done. It made me think what are things I want to write about and do, and when I see things cool things cool looking creatures that someone has made, can I incorporate that into the story, because that's really cool, or see cool cosplays maybe, or see cool outfits. I see cool outfits, I'm I want a character that dresses like that.
Right.
What can I do? That's a weird place to start, right? With a character, I don't think
it's a weird place to start at all.
Well, it's a different place. I think it's different.
Yeah.
Where it's I want to make a character who wears a really cool leather armor, and that's the first thing you have about your character, and then you can build a really cool, interesting character around that. I think that is interesting, and it's something that I'm definitely going to write down as part of our character creation stuff that we're going to also make a video on.
So I'm curious. We interviewed Stacy, or Swearingen, whose name is Stacy Durham, who is going to have a book published this year, in the year 2020, so I'm so excited for him. So that book is a very fantasy, but not necessarily comic type book. So were there people there with books, or was it all just... Okay. And could it be any type? I mean, obviously, fantasy, comic type related.
It could be anything that is culture. That's what Comic-Cons have sort of become. Comic-Cons started as, and I almost got on track of this earlier, comic book conventions started as, in the basement of a church, there were dudes set up with a bunch of comic books to go buy. That's what it was. In someone's basement, there was just, a bunch of comic books on a table, and you could go buy them. And so it's a comic book store, but with more stuff. And then it slowly grew into, well, I sell comic book merchandise. Could I come? Sure. Hey, I wrote my own comic book. Could I come? Sure. Hey, I wrote a book. Could I come? Sure. Hey, I make maps. Can I come? That sort of thing. It evolved all from that, and so now it's at a point where, excuse me, where anything related to the culture at all is welcome there, embraced there, and seen there. People cosplay as book characters, as movie characters, as TV show characters. And there were people who had booths full of just books, not comic books, books that they wrote on their booth saying, I wrote this book, I self-published it, now I'm here at this Comic-Con, here's the information on it, want to buy the book for a discounted price because you're buying it here? In stores it's $20, here it's $10. You want to buy it? Check it out. It's the first one in a series. You like this one? You can go to your local Barnes & Noble and pick up the next two. Hey, here's my card. That sort of that's welcome. And it's embraced there now. It's a place where you can do anything and anything that you have interesting. And there will be somebody there who is interested. I told a story on an interview with Swearingen that every year there is a guy there who wasn't there this year, sadly, but it's this guy who dresses as a pirate, but in pink and purple colors. And when you walk past him, he goes, "Are you 18?" And for a long time, I was like, "No." Finally, when I said, "Yes, I'm 18," he said, "Want to read my gay pirate romance novel?" And it's what? It's a novel, and it's about pirates, and it's about romance, and it's about gay pirates. And it's okay. And you know what? I was never interested, personally speaking. But there were people at that booth who were buying that book. Mm-hmm. Everything that you could possibly want is embraced. is embraced there. And that's why it's a great place.
Well, I'm just going to throw this out. I think that as we continue on our journey, and you write Summerborn, and I edit and work with Charmer, that we could have a booth for many reasons.
For sure.
But having our own creativity in our books is one way. We do want to create courses to help people do anything that we feel like we can help with. But our reach has just... It's just in so many directions, and it's just exciting to continue doing the podcast, to talk about all these possibilities. I enjoy listening back to some of them and thinking about what we started with, and what is this, number 25? So that's exciting too. And as we continue forward with the podcast, I'm looking forward to number 50 and then number 100 and to whatever number we'll be on when it's been a year. That's exciting to think about. So it'll be about 52, right?
Something like that.
So that's cool.
I think we should make a goal.
Okay, let's do it.
Next year, we should see about getting a booth. Because anyone can get a booth. And if by next year we have enough money to do so, which I don't know the prices, enough money to rent a booth and enough things to actually bring to the booth to say that here's what we have, then we should see about getting a booth at WizCon, because that's a great place to hi, look at these business cards, and hi, we're David and Donna. There are people there who have nothing there except their sign, and they're like, hi, ask me about what I do. There was this one guy who said, ask me about D&D. So what about D&D? And he goes, glad you asked. I made my own role-playing game called blah blah blah, which is better than D&D. Shut up, I walked away. But we wouldn't do that. But I'm just saying that's what these booths can be, and it does get people to come and talk to you, and you hand them their card. And sure, most people that grab the card are not going to call you, but I've picked up cards, and I've gone online after the convention, months later, when I had some more money, and I bought art off of online that I couldn't afford at the time of the con.
I understand.
So that's a goal. That is a goal.
Cool. So that'll be another way for us to get our word out.
Yes.
Which is something David and I have been... we literally jumped into this with zero training, zero knowledge of what we were doing. We knew that we could do a podcast. We knew that. Yeah. The other part of it, we're just scrambling to try to figure out and learn. But honestly, everything I believe is that in order to do something, you just have to take steps in the direction. And so we've been doing that. I feel like the podcast is a very definite step, because even my sister... My older sister, I have two. One is younger, one's older. But she had commented on one of our other podcasts to me. And when I talked to her 2 or 3 days ago, we were just talking about this business that David and I have going. And she's like, well, I watch a lot of different things on YouTube. And it just takes one. And David and I talked about that. Something that resonates, something that hits. And then people start listening to whatever that is, whatever the one is that goes viral. And then from there they come back. Or they come to you and they listen to all your back stuff and go, hey, I got a lot to say, and you build your audience that way. So having the faith, the intuition, the vibe, the whatever you want to call it, that what we're doing is what we're supposed to be doing, and we just keep going in the direction we're going, and just have the faith that it will occur.
And I was listening to this YouTuber that I'm a big fan of. And I'll go, it's Comic Pop is the name of the YouTube channel. Huge fan. They have about 80,000 subscribers, which relatively speaking to most people who do YouTube as a career, that's not a lot. Most people they claim I wasn't able to quit my day job till I had 500,000 subscribers. And he was I was listening to them talk because he quit his job as a teacher.
Yeah.
Pointing at you.
I hear you.
Yeah, quit his job as a teacher. He rents a studio to record all of his stuff in, and buys equipment and real stuff, and he has 80,000 subscribers. And I've always thought about that. Not any offense to them, but it's you only have 80,000 subscribers, and you're friends of people who have millions. He does a podcast with somebody who has millions of subscribers, and you are both relatively on the same level. And I've always been how did you do that? And he was talking about it, and he was talking about how the key to success with this sort of thing is not about how many subscribers you have. It's about how many loyal subscribers you have.
Good point. That's a very good point.
And it's about the fact that people let's say, PewDiePie has 100 million subscribers, but each of his videos gets about 1 million views. So 1% of his audience is watching all of his videos. Comic Pop has about 80,000 subscribers, and each of his videos get about 60,000 views.
Wow.
which is, not a million, but the point is that's like 75% of people are watching it. That's a consistent revenue. Every time you put out a video, you have people watching it. And he makes money. He said that he makes money by when people, he does a show called Back Issues. It has 306 episodes now. And when it first started, it did not have many views. But now that he's on his 306th episode, every episode he gets more and more subscribers. And those subscribers go back to the other 300 episodes and watch it. Those videos are still making him money. Those videos are, and this is not all about money, but we are talking about like how business. Could we, business. And he talks about how if you get 1,000 new subscribers a week, those 1,000 new subscribers, let's say 500 of them, go back and watch 100 videos you've already uploaded. That's money that videos you made 4 years ago are still making you money because you have this loyal subscribers and you make consistent content that people want to go back and watch. And that's how at 80,000 subscribers, he makes just as much money because of the content that he makes. And he was talking about how like, you don't want to follow a fad because if you follow a fad, eventually it's going to run out. But if you establish a organic audience that just watches your content because you make it, that is how you will consistently make money and like make a living. Not just like making, okay, I made $1 million, but then I don't know anything. It's like winning the lottery. He says that as like, he'd rather make a good bit of money consistently and organically than making like one video that just has all this money and then based on a fad that he's following.
That's a good point.
That's the key to success on this thing, and that's what I feel like we're going to do.
I totally
agree. This idea that, yes, I think about this often, where I'm like, yes, we upload these videos, and they get, like, 50 views.
Yeah, if we're lucky.
If we're lucky, they get, like, 50 views. And that's not enough. But one day, if we have 1,000 subscribers, which we will hit 1,000 subscribers, I am sure.
Oh, sure.
When we have 1,000 subscribers, some of those subscribers might go back and watch. When there's 1 million people subscribed to the channel, and they sub at episode 100, well, there's 99 episodes they have not watched yet that they might go back and watch, and those videos will still make money. Like those videos will still have ads on them, and you still grow a consistent audience and build the revenue that way, and build the audience that way, and do what it is you want to do. So with that in mind, I don't worry all the time about this video didn't make a lot of views because one day something will hit, and everyone just says the key is just being consistent and just making videos because people will watch them. And if I've done tests before, I make a new account that is not subbed to anything, watch anything, and if I search creative podcast, we're like the 4th video to come up because we've done so many podcasts that are tagged with creative podcast that eventually just starts the channel itself becomes this bigger thing and rises up, and the more people that follow it, the more people that search for that thing, the more it'll grow. And I try not to worry.
Well, there's no reason to worry.
There's no reason to worry.
What we're doing is what we want to do, and we're gonna blow up one day, and
we're moving.
We are going in the right direction. All right, well, we spoke for an hour. I was looking at my watch about 20 minutes in with David talking about WizCon, saying, how are we going to get to our hour? But we always do.
But before we go, you did bring up that you saw Rise of Skywalker, so you can't just go without at least saying, did you like it?
The way I look at that movie, and we'll have to come back and talk about it more, is that the movie itself is not a bad movie, but the entire trilogy, to me, ignores Star Wars to the point that it doesn't need to be even associated with it. I mean, it's 3 decent movies. I don't like that there's such a lack of continuity, which you've already mentioned, but that's just within the 3. But those 3 and the continuity of the Star Wars story, to me, is just almost irrelevant. So that's just for somebody who doesn't know it nearly as well as you do.
No, but I love that you said that. That's interesting that you said that because that's how I've thought about it. And I think about it as, Palpatine and the Emperor came back in this movie. That really means that nothing that happened in the original trilogy mattered at all.
Right.
Emperor didn't die. The Empire was not stopped. Luke did not rebuild the Jedi Order. Leia and Han did not have a happy ending. Like, nothing mattered in the original trilogy because of this one. And that's okay to continue a story, but it just kind of devalues it all, doesn't it, in a way?
Yes.
But well,
that's a topic for the next time.
Yeah, that is an in-depth conversation to get into another time.
Yes, it is.
So would you like to wrap us up, Donna?
I think I shall. So this has been Creative Conversations with David and Donna. I'm Donna.
And I'm David.
Stay creative.